Hey guys, welcome to our very first show of the Unaffiliated. I'm Gray Star along with our buddy J Man, and today we have a very special guest riding in the Ozarks. Mike, why don't you go ahead and take over and tell everybody what you're about and who you are?
All right, so I'm just another guy that rides a Harley here in the Ozarks. I'm in South Central Missouri, and when I started this channel a couple years ago, I wanted to kind of cover rides in the area that we do, wrenching on my bike, upgrades I do or things I would do to work on. We've got a couple bikes between me and my girlfriend, Firecracker, on two wheels, and maybe review some gear that I find interesting or that I think maybe, I've looked for videos on them and I didn't find them and I end up buying it. And I think, well, somebody needs to know the good, the bad about the, piece of gear or whatever. And so that's kind of what my channel started out as. And then I'm in Missouri. And right after I started my channel, we were in the middle of getting the helmet law modified. And there was a lot of confusion about the law and the wording. And I did some kind of videos on news stuff and talked about what was going on with COVID and Sturgis and all that stuff at that time. And just a lot of people commented they really liked the way I presented that kind of news and stuff like that. So I've done a lot more of those type videos also because I guess I'm good at them, or at least some people like the way I do it. So that's kind of what my channel's about. It's just here and there for whatever I kind of feel like. Sometimes it's what I think about Harley Davidson or their launches or a particular bike, or it could be a poker run we just did, or a great road I found that I think other people need to know about, or a great place to go check out.
Right on, man. That's good stuff. Well, I brought you on here because last week I happened to stumble upon our buddy Brad the Biker show because we didn't have a show that night. So I watched this show and you were on. And some of the stuff you were talking about intrigued the hell out of me. The stuff that you and your girlfriend do for that cause that you were talking about. And
Yeah,
and we were thinking, I was sitting here thinking about, with all the gas prices and how everything, it doesn't just gas, everything seems to have doubled. Literally, everything. You can't, like we were talking earlier, can't even find tires to buy for our bikes. So this economy is kind of sucking for a lot of people. So I
it
figured,
is.
why not talk about how this economy is affecting the biker community as a whole? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think supply is probably the biggest thing I see. Like, gas prices are high, and we were talking about that earlier. At
Mm-hmm.
this point, I don't, I may be a little more conscientious about riding my bike just for, you know, 30 minutes after work to go for a ride or something. I might not do that to save gas, but it's not stopping me from taking trips or supporting good causes like the poker run we did last weekend. We're going to do one again Saturday. Those are all charity type things. And, you know, me and Firecracker are really big into trying to support charities, local charities. You mentioned the thing that, we're doing, and I'll talk about that real quick because I think it kind of ties in. We did a benefit last year for a little boy with cancer, and we raised $14,000, and that was
That's
way more
awesome.
than way more than we ever expected. I mean, we thought if we could make $5,000 for this family, that would be a significant impact. And people in the community really showed up. People really came together and helped us. And another little boy was diagnosed with cancer right after we had decided to do one for him. And that little boy that we did for last year was in remission. We just found out he just got some bad news, and he's got some spots showing up again. But this other little boy's been fighting, and he's on experimental treatment basically. And this is kind of like the last straw. So his family's been fighting this battle and dealing with the medical expenses for 17, 18 months that I know of. And so this year we decided we were going to help them. And she's got in her head that she wants to try and find a child with cancer to help you every year and do a benefit for it. So I
Right
guess
on.
that's what we're going to do.
Have you been in contact with St. Jude's at all over this?
No, I mean, we really kind of depend on local community. I have had some vendors in our community that help out. So Pig Trail Harley Davidson and Rogers is a dealership that I built a relationship with, talking about bikes, blues, and barbecue. And
Mm-hmm.
we ended up buying Firecracker's bike there, even though it's a 4-hour drive. He had a used one. It was what she wanted. We made a deal, went, picked it up, had a great experience. But like Kyle down there, we were just talking about, he donated to the last benefit, and we said something about doing another one. He's like, hit me up when it's close to time. I'll send you some more gift cards. And he sends a couple $100 in gift cards. And Progressive Suspension, I've been looking at suspension and been talking to them. And the guy I was talking to, I mentioned this benefit, and he said, send me something. I sent him a little flyer for it. Next thing I know, I get they're not their top of the line, but I get a free pair of touring shocks to put in the benefit, stuff like that. So Custom Dynamics, I've reached out to them in the past, and they've donated a $100 gift card for a benefit and things like that. And so we kind of depend on businesses. This year, she reached out. She got some free tickets from the St. Louis Cardinals. The Kansas City Chiefs are sending an autographed hat. Places like that. Some big names are getting involved, and as we've kind of established that we know how to do this and raise money and can be successful, and we have that a little bit of a reputation. Say we did this last year, we were able to do this. We want to do something bigger this year to get more people to stand behind us and help us do it.
Right on. J-Man, you got any questions for Mr. Mike?
Well, it's be off topic at the moment.
We can hop around. I don't care.
Well, I was wondering, you did a video on stock options for Harley and how they've been going down and down. Do you think they've plateaued, and do you think the 2022 models are going to try and bring them back out?
I think Harley stock, you have to look at it the long term. When Jochen Zeitz took over 2 years ago, it was really at a low spot. In the last 2 years, it's been up and down, and it goes up and down based on the news cycle. I don't think, I hate to say it, but I think it's finicky. It's really about media and press, and not as much about performance. If they have a good, quarter and they report a good quarter, they get a little bump. But then something happens, like, for example, they shut down the plant, and I mentioned the stocks dropped. Well, they make an announcement. They're shutting the plant down for 2 weeks for regulatory compliance concerns. I mean, this could be a safety issue or something else they're doing to avoid a huge recall, and they take a hit on stocks anyway. If they had not done it and then had to have a recall, they'd take a hit on stocks. So they get hammered on it either way. Every time there's bad news, stocks go down. There's good news, stocks go up. But they don't. Those are short-term things, and then they kind of level back out. An analyst will say, "Oh, they've upgraded Harley's stocks to a buy or to it's a solid investment," and then they'll get a bump from that article for a few days, and then it'll go back, kind of level back out. And it's really been all over the place. And with the stock market, I watch Yahoo Finance, and I don't just watch Harley. I mean, I've watched the stocks for Polaris, for other companies, and they all have this kind of issue. And it's all based off the news, and people jump on the bandwagon of the news, and that'll make a difference for a few days, and it'll go back. But I've been getting alerts from Yahoo Finance that all-time lows for GE, all-time lows for this, all-time lows for that the last couple of weeks. The economy's in the tank, to be honest, right now, and it's hurting everybody. And I don't know. It's really hard to judge how good the new CEO is doing because of the problems with the economy. I mean, he might actually be doing a great job in keeping Harley alive, where they might not have been able to stay alive or do as well under their old business plan. But it's easy to backseat drive this stuff.
A lot of people nowadays could be paying a bike payment and just extra gas alone. Not cost of power is going to go up this summer, I've heard. We don't know what's going on with this food shortage I keep hearing about. It's funny how you mentioned the news. I'm pretty sure that the media controls the narrative.
they control the narrative, and they force a reaction. I cut the cord on mainstream media, cable TV.
Yeah.
8 years ago, I watch what I want to watch. And maybe it's why I do okay on the news videos that I do, is because I do try and research stuff. I don't just jump on the bandwagon. It's kind of like people for years, somebody will comment, Harley's gotten too expensive. Harley's gotten arrogant, and they charge too much for their bikes. And in that latest video where I was talking about, their stock performance and their quarter earnings and stuff, at the end, I kind of talked about what a Harley Davidson cost in 1965, 1977, and today. And the fact is, they've always been expensive, or at least, in modern times.
It was like a car, house, anything else. Your salary goes up, that goes up. Why not a bike or a boat?
Yeah, look at what new trucks cost.
Yeah. House payment.
Yeah, I bought a truck in 2018, and I've got, $20,000 of equity in it, and I couldn't trade it in and get a cheaper payment because the trucks have gone up as much as my equity I've gained. In 4 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. Totally crazy. Jumping back to your charity thing. So it seems to me this economy is not affecting the giving. The biker community is still out there giving what they got, huh?
Well, I guess this year we'll see how this benefit does. I think it's affecting people, but I think people are just having to be more cautious about how they spend their money or what they're doing. And I think they're going to avoid big purchases, but there's still, people that want to do good are going to find a way to do good. They might not be able to do as much, but I think, and again, we're getting better at advertising, getting the word out, getting more people there. So we could make more money by having more people there, but that doesn't mean everybody spent as much per person as they did last time. It'll be interesting to see. We talk about economy and the biker community. I'm also involved in putting on I guess some people would call it small. It's 1,000, 2,000 biker rally, attendance. I was the vice chairman last year. I was the band coordinator the year before. I may be chairman next year. We'll see how that goes when we have our next meeting and stuff. But last year we had 1,100 people attend. This year we had just over 1,000. So attendance was down a little bit, and we had better weather. But last year we had a tribute band out of Kansas City called Almost Kiss. It's a national touring act. And I think a lot of people came to see them. And so, 10% of your attendance could be purely whether they wanted to come see that band or not, Right. So it's hard to judge that stuff, especially when you're kind of shooting from the hip and reacting to what's going on. It's easy to assume that, well, maybe there was less people because the economy's bad and stuff like that. But, by the same token, it could just easily been the difference in the bands. It could be the difference in other things that were going on this weekend. We do it on Memorial Day weekend. It honors our troops. It's been going on for 34 years. Somebody said we need to move it. I said, we'll never move it. It's on Memorial Day weekend because it's about the troops.
Good for you, bro.
That's not going to. Yeah, we'll either cancel it or we'll have it on Memorial Day weekend, but we won't have it there's no such thing as a rain day. Because that's what it's about. And but like this year there was several concerts going on in the area that I knew drew some people away because here's this act that's in town that's going to be in Missouri once this year, and it's the same weekend. So there's lots of things that can compete there. But overall, I see people that I ride with and people I do stuff with are still doing charitable stuff and going with us to support events and things like that. Just like before, we're probably having 2 drinks when we go to the bar instead of having 3, that kind of savings, more so than not doing things, just being a little more conservative with what we do.
Right.
Being very frugal with your money. Yeah.
Like, J-Man, you just got back from Ohio Bike Week, right?
Yeah. We went up to Ohio Bike Week, and it was we skipped along just to save some money. You know what I mean? Just so we could do something else. But then we spent $1,800, which was 5 days, 4 nights, 5 days. We had a good time. We only paid $350 for gas, basically, and that was bikes and truck. Because luckily we trailered the shit up there because my bike broke down up there.
He can't catch a break.
I can't catch a break. Yeah, I borrow a motorcycle and it breaks down on me. Yeah,
his Harley breaks, so he goes and jumps on a Jap bike and it breaks. What does that tell you, man? You should have bought a Victory.
I got some luck. That's what it tells you.
I'm going to tell you, they all break.
Yeah, exactly. When they break is the problem.
I think it was PA Bearded Biker went out and bought a new Gull Wing, and he was headed to a meetup last summer in Virginia, VAM, and his Goldwing that was less than a year old broke down, but he rode a Sportster the year before to Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue from Pennsylvania, and that's where I met him at and stuff. So, you could get a new bike and you can have a problem with it just the same as an old bike. I hear people say, oh, the M8's got oil pump issues. It's got this, it's got that, every bike's got an issue. There's a limit in every one. And with today's internet, people are vocal. You hear about things a lot more than used to. But if I go look at all my friends who have bought M8s, I don't know any of them that's had to put it in the shop for an oil pump issue. Personally, I hear about it on the internet. Oh, I had this problem. And I'm not saying that those problems don't exist. We're just much more hyper aware of it because of the internet.
Well,
not everything you find on the internet is true, man.
Most people don't even find out they had oil pump issues until they go to put a cam in it or a new tensioner or something like that. So
I wouldn't want that job.
I mean,
buy a new one. Oh wait, you can't do that in today's economy anymore.
It goes back to the media sets the narrative, and to be honest, even as content creators out here on YouTube, we can set the narrative. The Badgers had a bad experience at a Harley dealer here a few weeks ago, and he was actually near me. It was in Missouri. He called me that day and told me what was going on, asked if I knew any other shops he could go to and stuff. He put a video out. Last time I looked, that video had 70,000 views. He has set a narrative based on his experience, and his experience is accurate, and he's telling his story. But I had someone else who went to that dealership 2 months ago and told me what a great experience they had at that dealership and how they were switching to that dealership. But that person doesn't have a YouTube channel, and they're not going to get 70,000 views to counter that narrative.
Right.
And Sonny's narrative is, I don't disagree with him. I think the way it was handled by the dealership was kind of, poorly handled, poorly done. But, not everything we see on the internet is a accurate picture of the whole,
Right. That's always missing some component.
Well, I've heard stories of, a Harley Davidson in Tampa, Florida, a Harley Davidson dealership down there. They are all sweet and nice on the internet and on these certain channels. But when you go in there, certain, mechanics and certain salesmen are asses, and they're not worth dealing with, is what I was told.
Yeah,
by two different people.
That's subjective, I think.
Exactly. I mean, it's all depends on your situation and what you go in there doing, and I believe you get what you give. So
you can't tell me you can walk into any dealership, any brand, and be in a great mood and be happy that you're not going to get a happy back. You go in there acting like an asshole, you're going to get treated like one.
That's what I say. You give what you get. You get what you give.
And my hometown dealership, I watched the service guy on a phone call one day, and somebody called up and wanted a part, and he asked him what year it was and what model, and they didn't know. They didn't know what year their bike was. They didn't know what model it was. They didn't know if it was a Sportster or a Softail. So whoever was on the other end of the phone, was either calling for someone else and trying to maybe get this as a gift or something else, and didn't really know how to shop and what was needed. It's not as simple as, is it 4-wheel drive? Is it a Camry? And is it what year?
We get that all the time at my job. So yeah.
Yeah. But the guy, he basically told him he couldn't help him, and he just got off the phone with them. They were busy. He had 5 other customers there. The guy on the phone probably doesn't know he's got 5 other customers stand there in front of him, waiting, listening to him have this conversation with someone who's not able to, isn't able to give him the information he needs to be able to help him. He could have told him, hey, there's a thing called a VIN number, and there's a website you can go and look it up. And when you go and do that, then call me back, but I mean, he probably gets that call enough that even if he tells him that, he's going to have to hold their hand and explain what's a VIN number and what's the website and what's this and that. And he ain't got time to do that. So he doesn't. But, where they're doing their jobs, and it's hard to second guess when you're not doing their job every day in and out to know what they deal with and the people they deal with. And I was kind of, shocked that somebody call up and try and order a part, and they didn't know if it was a Sportster or a Softail even, much less what year or model it was.
Oh,
Right.
it happens all the time. Yeah.
Speaking of jobs, it seems to me that because of COVID, a lot of people left, a lot of people lost their jobs, whatever the case. But now there's all these people that are hiring and can't find people to work. How is that affecting our economy?
Oh, it's terrible. I don't talk about where I work because it's one of them things. I have a job and a pension, and I want to keep it.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'm proud of it, but they might not, they might not approve of everything I say on YouTube, so I don't want them associated with it. But
Understood.
I've seen it's a big business, big company per se, and I saw with this whole work from home thing, and then suddenly you got to come back into the office. We're not working from home, and people just said, "I'm done. I'm retiring. I quit." Whatever. They got lazy. They got working from home, and they decided they didn't want to come back to work. And for some of them, they've got a financial plan to support it. They were ready for retirement, or they could take an early retirement or whatever. But I don't understand how younger people are surviving without a job.
I don't either.
For a while we had the government handout thing going on, but that slowed up, and people are still reluctant to work.
That government handout thing was not really even enough to survive, if you ask me.
Well, a lot of them are making their living off social media and getting Patreon people and stuff like that.
Don't believe the hype, man. You and I both know that we don't. We do this for fun.
Yeah, this is nothing.
You're not getting rich off YouTube. Those days are over.
You got to be pretty big. I mean, pretty big. I know what I do make revenue from ads on YouTube. But I've been doing this for 2.5 years, and I know what I make. But I hear from people who are in other niches, not like motorcycle. Oh, like for example, Gears and Gadgets. Dan said he in one of his videos he makes a lot more revenue off videos with trucks than motorcycles. I've heard from other people that a lot of other categories or topics pay a lot more in ad revenue than what motorcycles do. I'm definitely not doing it to get rich. I don't mind if it pays for a new camera or some gas for me to go do something and go somewhere and record something.
Right.
That's kind of the point we've gotten to, is that it helps pay for a few things, and it helps me. I bought a new camera this year, and now I'm saving all my Amazon affiliate gift card stuff up, and I'm hoping by the end of the year to get a new drone. I want that new Mavic Mini that's got the follow me feature,
right,
kind of thing. But, I put out over 300 videos to date on my channel. I've helped Firecracker make videos. I have another channel I put out videos on, and it probably, I could go out and get a minimum wage job and have made more money.
Well, it's definitely a non-paid job for sure.
See, when we first started this with our other channel, we as a group decided that we're going to do this and it's just going to be fun. And if we make any money, we're going to donate it. We're going to St. Jude's and to Wounded Warrior Project. Yeah. Now we're doing this new channel. I feel that J-Man and I are still on the same page and still thinking that way.
Yeah,
because
of course.
Literally, we do this for fun, and we didn't lose focus on what this was all about. However, you're right. If it would be nice to be able to buy a new camera maybe once a year as the GoPros get better. You know what I mean?
Right. I've gotten where I'm still using GoPro 7s on the bikes. I haven't upgraded my GoPros. The cameras that I've upgraded is like the camera that you're watching me on now is like a studio camera I use for my talking head videos. This year I got a better point and click kind of with a flip up screen that I can take when I go out. And so like this video I did with the poker run in Kansas City, every stop I get the camera out, I can record a little 5-minute thing or 2-minute thing about that stop. And then, I do a little 30 seconds of on the bike GoPro footage and then jump to the next stop kind of thing. And there's all kinds of different styles. And I can't say one's better than the other. That just seems to be better for me. What I found when I was recording with the GoPros all the time is I'm worried about, are the GoPros charged up? Is the lens clean? Is the battery charged?
Yeah.
And I get that footage and I get done. I've recorded 8 hours of footage to make a 3 or 4 minute video. and I didn't enjoy the ride because I was too worried about filming everything. So now my filming is very, I record, 2 minutes at each stop or something like that. Hey, we're getting ready to go pull a card. We're at this bar. Give them a shout out. Talk about where we are, or how the ride's going, how hot it is. It's 97 degrees, or how it was cool that it was at a pool, and things like that. And then I just go on, but I don't want it to take away from our experience of why we started this. Like you talked about, keeping your focus. I did this to share our lifestyle, to share what we do here in the Ozarks. I really want to promote riding in the Ozarks and what we have to offer to people to come here and stuff.
Right.
But that's not going to be every single video. So, what I do to my bike for upgrades and things like that were kind of the other things I was going to talk about, or gear that I find useful. And I want to kind of stay with that. And so, like, I do the poker runs, even if they only get 500 views. The video on Harley Davidson shutting the plant down for 2 weeks got 28,000 views.
Wow.
I did a lot less work for that than the poker run. The poker run, I spent, $400 or $500 of my money between gas and food and doing the poker run and everything else to go do that.
What was that poker run supporting? So
the guy that puts it on doesn't give out the name of the charities because they don't know they're getting this money till he gives it to them.
Oh, right on. Okay.
So he doesn't give out their name, but he kind of splits it up. Some of it goes to help veterans, and then the rest goes to help children. And one of the children's charities makes beds for kids who don't have their own bed.
Yeah.
So they help kids get beds. So,
man, some of us don't even. Well, I can only talk for myself. Never think about that. There might be a kid out there without a bed,
sleeping with their brother or sister, don't have their own bed.
Right? Yeah, I don't even think about that until you just mention it. But now,
first world problems. We're all worried about how we're making a Harley payment, and they're worried about where they're sleeping that night. And we lose track of that. But it's good that there are people out there like the guy that is behind that poker run, and he doesn't want a lot of press for it or anything else, but
he's doing it out of the kindness
he's good
of his
way
heart.
He's doing it. It's his 8th annual. He's been doing it for 8 years now. And this year, Law Tiger stepped up and helped him with the prize money and things like that. So he was able to put more money into the charity.
Is that why it was so much? Yeah.
Yeah. Law Tigers, I don't know that they wanted to advertise. They just put sponsored by Law Tigers on the poster, but they put up the prize money so that the money people paid could go to the charity. Worth Harley Davidson's on the poster. I don't know if they contributed financially, but they hosted the start and the stop, and they helped put it on, and they had a band there at the end, and beer garden and food for everybody and things like that. So
that kind of stuff should be happening everywhere, every weekend, if you ask me. Everywhere.
And I don't know. For me, it happens a lot in the summer around here. That same weekend that we did the Kansas City ride, there was a USO run to raise money for veterans. There was a Shriners Passport run that the Shriners do to raise money for the Shriners Hospital in St. Louis. So there were 2 other charity runs in my area that weekend that I missed because they conflicted. This weekend, there's a poker run for a nursing and rehab facility. There's a poker run for a friend of ours that passed away, and the money from that goes to a library fund for the school where he went to school at. And then there's also a AMVETS has a fundraiser called Bikes, Wings, and Warriors, where they have a bike show and a wing festival cook-off kind of thing and stuff like that. But we have a lot of fundraiser stuff goes on in our area throughout the summer. Almost there, at least 2 or 3 times a month, I can find a charity ride to go be a part of.
Right on. That's awesome. That is really awesome. Even this economy, hell, we all need some help. You know what I mean?
I'm a big believer in paying it forward.
For sure.
My kids, the Walmart here always had a little tree with an angel, and you could pull it off there, and they told you some kid's name, age, and what they needed. You go shop for it, and then you would drop that tag off with those items at the front desk, and they would get them to those children and stuff. And I started doing that with my kids when they were young, and they've learned and they believe in that, and they'll carry that forward. And I'm really proud of them for that. They've learned that sense of community and charity.
Right. I've done that as well. However, I'm really digging hearing about it during the summertime. Charity during Christmas time it's there, but
they're always there. Yeah,
right.
The charities at Christmas are always there.
Do that shit in February, or do that shit in June. You know what I mean? Give then. Where's your giving and your caring then? Why is it only got to be 2 weeks out of the year?
It doesn't. I mean? And I think that's one thing the biker community, we all, for us, it's an excuse to go ride. Oh, right. There's a poker run. Yep. Let's go do that with our friends and have a good time.
Burger and a beer, baby.
Another thing that I wanted to ask you about was the bleed certificate that you got. Did you take that online, or did you go to the YMCA, or how'd you do that?
So there is a website called Stop the Bleed, and you can go there and they will tell you about locations that you can do it in your area, like you put in your zip code. I know hospitals offer it. What was going on here was I was actually looking for it in my area and hadn't heard about it in my area. Thought I was going to have to drive 60 miles to a hospital to take it. And then I found out that the ambulance district manager, supervisor, the guy over the ambulance district was doing it for local businesses and schools where they're doing it because what Stop the Bleed does is they'll teach a group and then they'll put these first aid kits like in schools or businesses where there's a large group of people. So if there was something to happen there, like an active shooter or something else, there's a Stop the Bleed kit there that is on site for people. And there's people there that have been trained on how to use it. And that's kind of their goal. And so a buddy of mine called up and he's like, hey, I found out they have a class at the hospital this day. You want to go? And so me and him went over and we signed up and we went over and just took the class. And it was, 4 or 5 hours. It was an afternoon kind of thing. They teach you how to, stuff a wound with gauze and apply pressure. They teach you how to put on a tourniquet correctly. They teach you how to, the things like staying calm, assessing the bleeding, how to, what you should do first, stabilize the person, make the phone call, that kind of thing. And I really think it's a very important thing. I'm going to do another video on this, and this goes back to the poker run in Kansas. I've got this on film, and we're going down the road, and somebody's like waving everybody, and I'm like, oh, there must be an accident up ahead. Hope everybody's okay. And they're like, yeah, there's a bike accident up here. And we go over the hill, and there's this gal in the ditch, and I didn't notice it at the time, but I caught it in the GoPro. There's the sissy bar 50 feet up the road from her. The sissy bar came off, and she came off the back of the bike and slid down the road.
Wow.
And they got her off in the ditch, and you could see her skinned up and got road rash on her arm. And so as we're coming up and I see her sitting there and she's not been bandaged or anything, I pull over and I said, hey, do you need somebody with the first aid kit? And they're looking at each other like it had never crossed their mind. They're like, yeah, I guess. And April jumped off the bike and I was getting ready to put the kickstand down and we heard the ambulance coming over the hill behind us. And I'm like, never mind. The ultimate first aid kit has arrived. We'll get out of the way. And she got back on the bike and we caught back up with the group. But I carry a first aid kit in the bike, and I have a video on it called the Ultimate First Aid Kit.
I got a question.
I carry one myself. Yeah.
As do I. But this day and age, everybody wants to sue everybody.
So here in Missouri,
saving a life, getting sued. I'm going to save your life.
Well, here in Missouri, they have what they call the Good Samaritan law, and I don't know if all states have it, but in Missouri they have it. And if you've had training, official training, and you can prove that you've been trained to do whatever it is you did, whether it's CPR or stop the bleed,
right,
then you cannot be sued and held liable even if that person dies. If you did it in good intention. So with the Stop the Bleed, they give you a certificate. So I've got a certificate that says I know how to properly apply a tourniquet and how to apply gauze or stuff a wound or something like that. Even if the person died, or even if I, maybe did something that was wrong, I had the right intentions and I've had training, so that protects me from a liability standpoint to some degree. People can always sue you. The difference is if they can win.
Right. Good point. I played corpsman during Desert Storm. I was a dental tech, but I played corpsman during Desert Storm, and I didn't get a certificate or nothing when I got out of the Navy. I knew how to do all that stuff. Matter of fact, when I was in the Navy, a guy fell off a bicycle in Virginia Beach, and I actually helped him through until the EMTs showed up. But even then I was scared to death about getting sued. So I guess you got life or death. I think I would help the person anyway. That's just how I am.
Yeah, I'd risk being sued to save someone's life or try to save somebody's life. I would risk being sued.
But I think taking a class like that for 4 or 5 hours
is the class free?
Yeah, it's free.
It's well worth it then.
Yeah,
just your time. That's really good.
Yeah, so it provides you some protection. It provides you with knowledge, and for people that aren't aware of how Stop the Bleed started, and I cover it in the video, but it started because of the mass shooting things for the school. So they did a study to decide what they could do to be better prepared to save more lives. What do most people die from? And the most preventable death is people bleeding out. That death could have been prevented if someone was there to apply a tourniquet or to apply pressure with gauze and padding or something like that. And that is the number one life-saving mechanism that everybody could do if they were trained and knew how to do it. Right. So there's a national initiative called Stop the Bleed that is about teaching people in hospitals, schools, large businesses, stuff like that, how to do it and to get the tools to be able to do it into those facilities and stuff. And hopefully eventually it'll trickle down to individuals and smaller businesses and things like that. But part of that's getting the word out that it exists. And I'm sure COVID's hurt their ability to have those classes in person and things like that.
Sure would be nice to see something like that in the media.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, I don't know where their funding comes from as far as like advertising and things like that. I found out about it from a 2A channel, some of these channels that promote being able to make holes also promote being able to patch holes. If you're going to know how to make a hole in somebody, you ought to know how to patch it. And one of those channels was talking about it. I think it was James Yeager, one of those tactical response. But anyway, that's how I found out about it was on YouTube. So, I'd share that with people, and probably every year or two, I'll do a new video on it. I'm going to take this opportunity where I filmed this to say, hey, tell the story about what happened. Here's 5 or 6 people stopped with this person. They've been with them for 15 minutes and nobody's got any first aid kits out. Why? Right. Even if even if you don't have a lot of room on your bike, a couple of 5x5 pads and a roll of gauze, is something. Put it in a bag bar that goes over your triple trees or a handlebar bag or something.
For sure. It's a good point. All right. So here's a little funny thing. I think it's funny anyway. You're so good at doing charity work. How do we set up one so we can get J-Man parts for his damn Harley to get it back on the road?
You're a funny guy. Yeah, you're funny. All right. Tools are what I need, not parts.
Yeah, you got a cam bearing tool we can borrow?
I don't know that I have one I probably know where I can borrow one, but I probably can't borrow it from anybody else.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm running into. I might as well just buy it and have one for myself.
But, you ride with the club? Tools are getting hard to buy. I've got there's a puller that I was thinking about buying just so I could get the measurements off of it so I could make one, because they want $150 for this puller. The shifter on the toe heel shifter on the Harley, there's a little bearing in there, and and then the toe shifter is slapping up and down and vibrating while you're riding down the road. And I put my toe in my boot underneath it and I don't hear it anymore. But, I was going to replace it. Well, they want you to use a special puller. And when you put it back, it's got, shoulders on the bolt and this and that. So it puts the bearing in exactly the right spot, because you have to go in from the back of the primary and where the shaft goes all the way through and all this and that. I'm like, somebody needs to make a video on how to make this puller, because I'm pretty much sure you could just buy a bolt and put nuts on it at the right spot so that it stops, and you can put it exactly where you want to. But now I can't even buy the puller.
Well, maybe if you build that puller and make the video, there's another 28,000 views or whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah. Hey, so about your riding, do you ever ride with a club, or have you been in clubs, or strictly non-club? What?
So I am a president of a local for the motorcycle rights organization in the state of Missouri. We're not a club. We're an organization. We're the largest MRO in the state of Missouri, called Freedom of Road Riders, 2,000 members roughly. And I'm the president of the local in my area. So we don't have the same kind of rules as clubs do. You don't prospect, things like that. You pay dues, which are $25 a year. And, that money, most of it goes to the legislative arm, for the Political Action Committee Act. Like, that's how we were a big part of getting the helmet law modified here in Missouri 2.5 years ago. It took 28 years to do it. Yeah. But we never quit fighting. We've been organized since like 1980 something, so over 40 years or close to 40 years, we've been fighting this fight, and it took, that long, but we got it done finally.
Is this organization strictly based in Missouri, or are you all over the place?
There's ABATE in other states. There's only Freedom of Road Riders in Missouri. As the story goes, we had an ABATE in Missouri, and the president and the treasurer ran off with the money back in the 80s. And so when everybody got back together and decided to create another motorcycle rights organization, they didn't want to use ABATE because ABATE had left a bad taste in people's mouth around here running off with the money. And that's an individual's fault. That's not ABATE's fault. Right. But so we started Freedom of Road Riders in Missouri, which is basically an ABATE with a different name and our own set of bylaws. And in other states, there's ABATE, and it's basically the same kind of thing. Okay. We now actually have an ABATE of Missouri as well. I consider them brothers. We're all in this fight together. We work together. We're all trying to pull for the same things. And for people who aren't familiar with motorcycle rights organizations, it's not just about helmet law modifications and things like that. That's, of course, a big focus. But we were involved in a law here called Clutch's Law that was involved, basically stiffer penalties for drivers that hit motorcyclists from being failure to yield or distracted, things like that. We get involved in, like, I've seen legislation where some guy thinks you need to replace a light if one LED is burned out. Well, if you look at your little turn signal, you might have 28 LEDs in there. You're going to tell me if one burns out, you got to replace the whole thing? It's not safe. That's not common sense. But now, if you're talking about a headlight where you got 2 LEDs and one burns out, then yeah. But we need to have common sense in how these laws are written, and the legislators don't always know. And if somebody proposes a law or says it needs to be this, and somebody needs to be watching that and helping them understand why it's right or wrong. Yeah, J-Man, you got something red flipping in and out behind you.
Yeah.
That's J-Man for you.
That's
me.
Now,
put the background on there so you don't see the frog that's on the back wall.
Nice. So, but as far as clubs go, I have, especially being in the motorcycle rights organization, we do things with clubs. Right. We don't have to worry about, we don't have colors. We have a patch. Our patch goes on the front of our vest. It doesn't go on the back. We don't fly colors. We don't claim territory or anything like that. Yeah. We have different locals in different areas where we meet, but I've been invited to clubhouses and we shared dates when we're doing rides and when they're doing rides, and we support each other. We come to their events. They come to our events. I have a support club who's a mile from my house, and I go to their annual Groundhog Day party every year and have to be driven home. There
you go.
It's a good time. We get along good. As a motorcycle rights organization, we don't get involved in any drama between clubs. We don't take sides. Yep. We're neutral. We're here to support the rights of all motorcyclists. But me as an individual, I've got friends that are in that clubhouse there, so I go hang out with them when they have an open house or they're having a party. And I've rode with them before and stuff like that. So,
right. Well, we started this channel basically because of the fact that on YouTube, there seems to be a lot of channels out there talking about either the 1%er world or the 99%er world, but there wasn't really any about plain old Joe biker who likes to jump on his bike on the weekends and go do poker runs or whatever. So we decided to do this. So, fun so far.
Yeah, I think it's and there is a reason that's the 99%. The 1% want to be the 1%. They don't want everybody to be what they are, and that's okay. That's
for sure.
Yeah, that's their thing, and I respect what they do. I respect where they come from and why they do what they do. It's not for me personally, but I'm really involved in the motorcycle rights thing. I've been doing it for 8 years consistently. I did it for a few years when I was younger and then was out for a while when I got married and had kids and stuff. But, I have a great group. Our local is about 50 members. And when I have a meeting, it's not like in a club where everybody has to attend a meeting. I have people who drive a truck who darn, home on Thursday nights when we have our meetings and stuff. We have a meeting once a month, not once a week. But I have a good turnout. I have good people that support our charity work, that want to be a part of it. I've got people that have joined just because they came to something and saw us show up as a group to support a charity, and they're like, I want to be a part of that,
Right.
Or they saw us do a fundraiser. The fundraiser we're doing for the little boy with cancer is something that Firecracker is doing. It's not part of that motorcycle rights organization, but the motorcycle rights organization that we're a part of is going to do the poker run in the morning. And part of the reason it's kind of staged that way and why they said they would help us with that part is we have insurance. We pay that dues and all that pays for us to have insurance. And we pay for insurance as an event. So they'll pay for the insurance on that event. They'll have waivers. People will be protected. The charity event will be protected in some sense if someone were to get hurt, because that's put on by a group that has a waiver and has insurance. And we don't have to worry about somebody coming back and trying to hold me or Firecracker personally responsible for putting on this poker run.
So speaking of Firecracker, I noticed that she was in our chat. I was hoping that she could perhaps put in the chat all the links to get in touch with you guys, all the stuff about this little boy, and maybe a link about him or something about the charity that she's going to be doing.
If she's still in the chat, I will have her put it in there. If she's not, I will text her and tell her to put it in there.
There you go.
I'm trying to watch the chat. Greg McGee asked if I'm going to be at Stubborn American and party at Adams Campground. Yeah. I reserved my spot before I left last year. So we have our spot reserved for Stubborn American. We'll be at a campsite between the treehouse house that he has and the river. There's That's two cool. Tree houses. We'll be near one of those. It won't be hard to find. It'll be me and Ozark HD Riders and the River Bluff Baggers and JS and some other friends. 9 Mills on 2 Wheels will be there again. We all hung out together last year down there. And so before we left, we all got our reservations in. We're all set for next year. So I'll definitely be at Stubborn American. I'll be at BBB the week after that. And 2 weeks before Stubborn American, I'll be at Bike Fest. And that's probably what we have locked in and left for the rest of the year besides this benefit we're doing. We've got some other stuff that we'll probably do, but they'll probably be small local things. Those are the big things. But September is always a busy month for us. Bike used to be Bike Fest and Stubborn American and BBB were all in the same month. So that was like one weekend right after another. We'd take a week and a half vacation and like just go ride between the events.
Cool. So have you met Adam?
I have met Adam a couple times. I met him before I ever had a channel at the Cat House when we were down there for BBB before I started my channel. And I didn't really talk to him. I took his picture with a friend of ours that wanted to meet him there. And then I've actually, met him at Stubborn American, but he's busy. He's running an event there. But I got to say hi to him in there. But we were all at the Cat House together for Spring Fling a couple of months ago. And I got to actually talk to him and visit with him a little bit, kind of more privately there and stuff. And, he is what he seems like he is, I've got a video on Spring Fling where I got to stand right there in the front and video while he was giving away, collecting money to give away toward an upgraded motorcycle for a veteran. That was their charity thing they did that weekend and stuff. And so Adam does great stuff. I'm a fan.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, hey, man, we're coming up on an hour, a little under it. Why don't you go ahead and give us some ending thoughts on this whole economy thing?
Well, it's tough.
You're not on a spot or nothing.
No, yeah. No, I think, I paid my Harley off, 4 months ago. And of course I wanted to take that money and just go buy another bike. I'm bad about that. And I didn't. I think that, my advice to people is people have spent a lot. People went out and bought campers and trailers and bought a lot of stuff the last couple of years, trying to get out and do things and stuff. And I think inflation's really going to hit hard the next few years. And I would say, think really hard about any big purchases. Be a little more conservative than you've been in the past. I think, I think we have a rough road ahead for a few years as a country. I hope to see it turn around soon, next election. But, I think, and I don't think everything falls on one man's head. I don't think the president of the United States has all the power in all things. I do think he has influence, but I also don't think it's as simple as elect a new president and all our problems are going to go away either. So I'd say people do also, don't just shut down completely though and not spend any money. That's not good for the economy. We had that during the COVID shutdown when they tried to force businesses to close, and small businesses really suffered from being shut down. Some places never opened back up, things like that. So I'd say, just be more thoughtful about how you spend your money or what you spend it on. Things you need, not things you want. Things that matter, things that help support other people and help them stay, with their livelihood, whether it's a waitress or, a mechanic or whatever it is. And, I think we'll get through it, but I do think we have, I would say, with the way that the supply chain thing is not going to be over this year. So I think we have another 18 months of struggles with supply chain and the economy and everything else at the minimum.
Yeah, good point. Hey, J-Man, how about you, brother? You got any final thoughts?
We'll have at least this problem for another 3 years anyway.
No, he's saying 18 months. That doesn't count as 3 years.
Okay. Well, how long's he got left? 2.5 years.
I see. So you think one man's going to change the?
No, I think the party would change things, not one man.
All right.
Well, so, I think there's some truth to that, but elections still don't. One election doesn't necessarily guarantee the party, even if we change the one man. And if he doesn't get support, in some ways from both parties, it really makes them hard to do their job.
Yeah,
we've got to focus on what's best for our country and not what our party lines are. And we have to quit letting the outrageous outliers be so vocal that they skew people's perspectives and kind of remember where the middle ground is, and we need to try and find that middle ground and come together as a country.
Yeah,
doubt. I agree with that. Yeah, you're right. But you're right. It's not one man who's going to change. It's a group of people, and they have to work together.
And it's not just one party. Both have to actually work together.
Yeah.
I mean, the last administration, we saw how bad it is between the two, that they didn't want to get anything done because,
they didn't.
They're so busy fighting each other that they're not doing what's best for the country. As a president of an organization, my job is to lead the meetings, to keep structure in the meetings, to keep us on track on the meetings and stuff like that. But I don't get to vote. I don't have an ultimate say unless there's a tie.
Yeah.
If we vote on something and there's a tie, then I'm the tiebreaker. But other than that, I don't vote. I can tell people my thoughts when we're having discussion, my feelings about it. I can persuade people vocally, but in the end, I don't get a say as a president of an organization on what we do or don't do. It makes me feel a little odd when somebody who's in the group calls me boss man or something like that, because I don't think of myself that way. I'm not the boss. It's not my job. And to be honest, if anybody else wants to be president, I will happily give that title over. But it seems to me that nobody else wants that responsibility. And I've just been too dumb to step down and let it be.
Well, there's a reason why they don't want it. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, my final thoughts on this whole thing on the economy is you nailed it on the head at the beginning of the show. Pay it forward, people. Help thy neighbor. Only way we're going to get through this is by supporting one another, not fighting each other.
Who's little now?
Stop the bullshit. Be conservative with your spending, obviously. And keep the rubber side down.
I put a link in the chat there for the Facebook event. If you don't do Facebook, you can find me on Instagram under Riding in the Ozarks, or Firecracker under Firecracker on Two Wheels, and you can message us on there. When we did this event last year, I let people send me donations over like YouTube and Facebook, and I collected over $2,000 in donations. You know what happens when you do that? Somebody's going to report that as income and pay the taxes on it.
Yeah, government.
Yeah,
and that somebody was me. So this year we're not doing that. We're encouraging people to, either write a check out to the parents or mail a check or send a gift card or something like that, where I don't have to pay the taxes on it, and YouTube doesn't take a cut of it because it's a super chat or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Well, everybody that's on here, we appreciate your support for our first show. I know it's a little slow, but in the beginning, but it is what it is.
Thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thumbs up. We got 11 people in the chat, and we got 7 thumbs ups on this video. So if you're still in the chat, you should be giving us a thumbs up. Help the algorithm understand that these guys need to get out in front of more people. It's a new channel, and that's part of how you can help them do that.
And God bless you for helping us out, Mike.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Mike.
On, bro.
I appreciate you guys. Have a great evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
You too.
With that, peace out and stay unaffiliated.